Right now.
All right, thanks.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Wilson?
Here.
Pelosivo?
Present.
Platt?
Here.
Kraszewski?
Here.
Dunn?
Get over here, baby, show my name here.
Here.
Spear?
Present.
Teeman?
Here.
And I have one amendment to the agenda. We're going to move CanCom until after executive session. Any other amendments to the agenda? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And we do have one presentation on the agenda for our comprehensive annual financial report. We have the auditors here from Wolf, Mike Senko and Ryan. I don't know Ryan's last name.
One AV note here for Mr. Munns. Alderman Munns, if you can hear me, we are getting feedback from our television camera person that they can hear some background noise. So I don't know if there's a way that you can either turn it down or shut a door, but it is coming through into the video. Okay.
Maybe leave the bar. Only joking.
All right, guys, we did get our audit back probably in record time. I don't remember ever having an audit since I've been on the council this early. So good job, guys, Rob and guys at Wolf. And Mike, you want to take it away and hit some of the high points?
Yeah, I guess I'd like to start there as well. First of all, obviously, thanks to the board for the commitment to us. Mayor Galinsky, congratulations, and thanks for your commitment. And also, I think, special recognition to Rob. He's just done a wonderful job. I feel like I was just here yesterday for the prior year audit, and here I am presenting the current year audit. So you have made wonderful strides from a financial reporting perspective. And exciting news where Mayor had mentioned comprehensive annual financial report. It's a huge stride for you to submit for that certificate of excellence in financial reporting. We've done that. Rob's done a lot of work from that perspective, put in all the necessary schedules, so that's an exciting change as well. From our perspective, I think the most important page is your independent auditor's report, which is a clean opinion, an unqualified opinion, which is the highest level of opinions that we can issue, which indicates that we've gone through all of our promulgated language, assessed internal controls, tested different transactions, receipt, disbursements under our promulgated language, statement of auditing standards, and then governmental accounting standards boards. And everything in all material respects has checked out, then warranted an unqualified opinion. I think what I'd like to do is keep it really high level, that we've applied that, given you an unqualified opinion, and through tough economic period from a village, from a city's perspective, you've done remarkably well with staying consistent with some slight improvement in different areas, say like general fund, for example. So I just, with that said, and then Ryan was the individual that did the majority of the field work, worked very closely with Rob. I think they became one with each other through emails and back and forth with the CAFR. So with that, just open it up for questions from any of you folks.
Anyone questions?
On your letter? Oh, yes. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that letter. I wanted to mention that it was actually a clean letter in the current year. And again, great strides from that perspective. There were no additional material weaknesses, significant deficiencies, control deficiencies that were noted, just corrections made to the prior year. And they have to continue to be in there based upon the new promulgated language, statement of auditing standards. We have to continue to report them until they're cured, which from my perspective is all of the comments that we had made have been cured at this point in time. Sorry. Yes?
Just a couple of quick questions. One, under your other audit findings or issues, where you mentioned, however, these discussions occurred in the normal course of our professional relationship and our responses were not a condition to our retention. Has that been a standard in the past where you have not, your responses to these were a condition to retention?
No,
like last year?
No.
Okay.
No.
So it's normal for your responses not to be a condition to your retention?
That's actually just standard.
And then on the bottom, it also talks about the reconciliations to the supplementary information. What are some of those reconciliations you made? Can you think of any of those off the top of your head?
Which paragraph are you referring to?
It's in your letter. It's under audit findings or issues. It talks about we compared and reconciled the supplementary information to the underlying accounting records. Do you know what some of those reconciliations were?
Anything within the required supplementary information doesn't fall under the our audit opinion. So the procedures we perform on those pages is just to make sure that they tie to the information we did audit. So we read through them, read them for consistency, and tie everything to the actual financial statements, and just make sure everything's articulates throughout.
Okay, and that's just the standard procedure for supplementary information?
Standard procedure, correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else? You have anything?
Yeah, Mr. Frederickson and I did have a few quick comments based on some of the material that's actually in the audit, if nobody else has any questions for the auditors. Okay.
Okay. Just wanted to give real briefly some of the highlights of the CAFR, this being the first year we've done this type of document, as Mike mentioned, the comprehensive annual financial report compared to just the normal annual financial report that we've done in past years. I want to start on page 2 with the MD&A, which stands for Management's Discussion and Analysis. If you haven't had the opportunity to look it over, I would recommend that you do. This is management's perspective. Just want to stipulate that the auditors aren't commenting. It's strictly management's perspective, and it gives kind of just an expansive narrative and overview analysis of the financial activities for the city in fiscal year 2011. We also do a lot of comparisons to the previous year for analysis purposes, and also it kind of gives you an indication on what management's intentions are for the future and subsequent fiscal years. Turning to page 17, just wanted to kind of touch on the general fund balance sheet a bit. I know in the past we've had some issues with receivables not coming to fruition. Last year we wrote off $1 million in bad debt. I just want to address that and say that's no longer an issue. You know, the receivables that you see here for the property taxes, the intergovernmental receivables, which is comprised of primarily state taxes, your motor fuel tax, your income tax, your sales tax, things like that. The accounts receivable, which is other taxes not from the state, such as utility taxes, the natural gas tax, hotel tax, the pari-mutuel tax, and then the utility taxes receivable are all been collected as I talk to you right now, so there is no outstanding issue of those receivables not coming to fruition. If you turn to the next page, page 19, just kind of it gives you a great overview of the revenues and expenditures and the transfers of the general fund, as well as the library fund. If you note on the bottom there, where it says net change in fund balances, that means surplus and deficit. For our budgetary purposes, it's the same thing. But you'll notice that the general fund actually ran a surplus at the end of fiscal year 2011 in the amount of $221,039, which cut the negative fund balance in the general fund from a negative $492,000 to a negative $271,000, so it essentially cut it in half. Again, if you turn to page 21, you'll see again a summary of the general fund. This is similar to what the report that I gave you, I believe, 2 weeks ago, which just shows the budget compared to the actual numbers for the general fund. And again, in that middle column, you can see at the bottom the surplus number of positive 221, and then the ending fund balance of negative $221,000. The other thing on the balance sheet of the proprietary funds, which is the Water, Sewer, and Recreation Center Fund, found on page 25. You'll notice that there is no cash reported, and that's because the cash for those funds is actually contained in that interfund receivable line item. And what that does is it, for financial reporting purposes, you can't report negative cash balance on the face of the financials, so that other cash is being used to wipe out the negative fund balance, or excuse me, the negative cash amount in the general fund, as well as some other governmental type funds, as well as the rec center, which have a negative cash position currently. Skipping ahead, just wanted to briefly talk about some of the notes. As I mentioned, a bit more expansive than in past years. On page 44, you see all the city's long-term debt, which includes our bonds, our debt certificates, our IEPA loans, any sort of installment contracts we might have, as well as compensated absences, our net pension obligation, and other accrued claims. Page 49 is of interest. It lists all our agreements that we have with developers for the sewer water fund, as well as the general fund. Page 63 is the beginning of the schedules of revenues, expenditures, and changes in fund balance, where it gives you a very itemized, a very detailed look at the budget and the actual numbers on a line item by line item basis. And again, this is almost identical to what you received just a couple of weeks ago. So if anyone who would like Excel copies of that or would like further explanation, we can certainly provide that to you. Page 102, again, talks about our debt service. It lists out all the debt service schedules for all the city's outstanding debt. It's similar to what's in the budget, but if you're wondering about our debt service, that's a good place to look for it. And then the last thing I wanted to touch on, and this is something that's entirely new because we did a CAFR, and that's the statistical section. And there's 5 different types of stats that we do. The first focus on financial trends. The second focus on revenue capacity. The third is debt capacity. And then we have demographic and economic information, as well as operation information. And that begins on page 133. This is very useful if you want to look at kind of the history of where we've been, and where we are now. For instance, you can see on page 132 and 133, it's the history of the governmental fund balances for the last 10 years. So you can see that a slight decline, and then we kind of plateaued in 2010, and now we're on our way back up. For instance, if you turn to pages 134, it shows you the different categories of revenues and expenditures and other financing sources and uses from 2002 through the current years, and it's interesting to see where some of the revenues have gone. For the most part, taxes and intergovernmental have held steady, but then you have things like license and permits, which peaked at about $7.2 million in fiscal year 2004, and are now down to about $500,000, which is typical with the aggregate economy in the shape that it is, particularly relating to building and development fees. So that's of interest. And then if you just look through the various statistical section, you'll find a lot about the assessed value of property here in the city's direct tax rates, and there's overlapping tax rates of the other taxing districts. Flipping through to the debt capacity, there's a lot of information there. And also there's some very interesting demographic and just economic information about the city and unemployment rates and things like that. And Mike did touch on it briefly that we are going for the Distinguished CAFR Award presented by the GFOA. Hopefully we should know in a month or two whether or not we receive it. I think we have a pretty good chance. And it's a nice award to get. It shows that we're a professional organization and that we are where we need to be in terms of our financial reporting standards. And that's good for the citizens, so they're aware of that. And also for any potential creditors and rating agencies, that they're aware that we're doing what we need to be doing. So, Bart, do you have anything you want to add? Or?
No, you covered it well.
All right, thank you.
Okay, guys, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have no public hearings tonight. Do we have any citizen comment? No citizen comments tonight? How about consent agenda? I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second. Comments or questions on consent? Roll call, please.
Osimo,
Aye.
Milczewski,
Aye.
Spears,
Aye.
Munns, Funkhauser,
Aye.
Gilson,
Aye.
Teeling,
Aye.
Cott.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, we have minutes for approval. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the regular city council for September 13th, 2011, and September 27th, 2011, and the special city council for September 27th, 2011, as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Comments, questions, corrections on minutes? Vote.
I just have one quick one on September 13th. Southwest Fox Valley Cable. Michael Reynolds' name is misspelled. It's R-E-N-N-E-L-S.
George?
I have two. On page 3, well, it says Alderman Gilson asked if it is the city's intent to forcefully add, it should be annex. Annex, A-N-N-E-X. And then,
Is this September the 13th, George?
pardon me? Yes.
September 13th? Okay.
Yes, September 13th on page 3.
Very last sentence. There's so, second from the last.
And then September 13th on page 7. I'd like to ask the clerk to go back and actually review and write exactly what was said under additional business, where it starts out, it says Alderman Gilson added the problem with Alderman Funk, added the problem with Alderman Funkhauser's statement is simple. The aldermen are 100% accountable for their constituents. A lot of this stuff isn't accurate, and so I'd like you to go back. I can read you more what I think the intent was, but I'd like you to go back and put exactly what was stated there. What I feel, and this isn't exactly what I stated because I don't have it on me, but it says I believe I said Alderman Gilson stated that there's a problem with Alderman Funkhauser's statements. You cannot talk out of both sides of your mouth and say you are not sympathetic to developers and apathetic to our standards, but then ask us to ignore the developer's responsibility to follow our ordinances as everyone else has to do, with a compromise on behalf of the developer. And I believe I said there's nothing non-business friendly about asking developers to follow our ordinances and commit to their responsibilities. This is not a failure on behalf of the city. And residents of Windet Ridge and the HOA, which was not put in in the minutes, showed up by invite and gave us a clear direction on how they wanted the city to handle the situation. We report to our constituents 100%, and this is what they have asked us to do. And that was what I said. I wanted to make sure that both sides of the story were on the record. But
Or do you want it word for word or just a better context of what was said?
I prefer that particular part to be word for word. I think it's important that exactly what I said is on the record.
Sure.
Thank you.
Anyone else on minutes? Jackie?
On the 13th, September 13th, same paragraph on page 1 under the presentation from the cable. The 1, 2, 3, 4th sentence from the bottom. The first page under Mike Reynolds' report. On the fourth sentence up from the bottom of the paragraph. He had about Channel 99 being streamlining on the internet. I think it should be streaming. Am I right? Pepper?
Streaming?
Streaming.
Streaming.
What did I have? I'm
Streamlining is what you put?
sorry. Okay.
And then on page 2 of the same minutes, there's a paragraph under the intergovernmental agreement for the reconstruction of Route 47, 1, 2, third paragraph down under that. Alderman Gilson posed quite a few questions, which you note, but there's no clarification into the answers that you got for your questions. You just listed the questions that I thought it was kind of
It's
important
good to have
know,
on the record, you bet.
to have on record what the answers were. I think they had one other, so wait a minute. On page 4, first paragraph, 10th from the bottom, it says it has to be continuous. The word is contiguous. Oh, no, wait, hang on, I lost it. One more. On page, I'm sorry, back on page, same page 4, at the last paragraph. A third paragraph, you said the municipality that has weak tornado coverage, you have weak as in weak as in days of the week, not weak as in poor. Oh, wait, I had one more, I'm sorry. On page 3, second paragraph, there was some confusion with that motion, and it was supposed to be withdrawn, but we don't have who withdrew the motion. It was on the intergovernmental agreement for Route 47. I don't remember who it was.
It was supposed to be with,
At the bottom, it says, Attorney Orr said the previous motion needed to be withdrawn. Was it? I thought somebody withdrew it.
I know we talked about it, I don't know if she said we had to
If you
withdraw
could
it,
listen
or
and see who withdrew.
we just modified the motion.
Because there was a motion on the table, then we just put another one on. I thought somebody withdrew it. So if you could listen to the tape on that one.
You sure that's it? Anyone else? Okay, vote to approve the minutes as corrected. All those in favor, say aye.
We're just doing the first set of minutes, right?
We're doing all 3 of them. If we have more, the motion was for all 3 of them. So if we have more corrections, let's keep going.
So I do have, if we're going to do all 3 of them, I have
Yeah,
one.
because the motion was for all 3 sets of minutes.
Okay. For September 27th, on page 3. It'd be the third paragraph. It says Alderman Gilson said that at the last meeting he had asked the city could just start by talking to property owners. And what I asked was, what I should say is Alderman Gilson said that at the last meeting he asked if our intent was to force annex these properties, and I still have not received a straight answer. And then I also asked Bart, let me start with after that. The next sentence says the city could just start by talking to property owners, and what that should continue on and say, without going forward with a formal process that could lead to forced annexation. And then further on, this needs to be added as well. I asked Bart how he figured that this process is less expensive and picking up their phone and asking if the property owners are interested in annexing individually. Yeah. And then Bart stated he figured in staff time and costs was the response I received. So that's all I think important for the record.
Anyone else on September 27th? Is that or a special meeting? Did we want the November 13th minutes to come back to us next time? Or you want to approve them as corrected, or what do you want to do?
Which ones?
The first set, the first set had significant changes.
We cannot do that.
We cannot do that?
I thought Attorney Orr said that you had to.
I'll do it within 30 days.
You got to get them up on the
30 days.
website.
You have to get them up on the website within 7 days of approval. You have to approve them within 30 days. I think we stated this back in May and June. You know, that should be the target that we're shooting for. So,
if the changes are so substantial, I think it's better to have the clerk have an opportunity to put them in correctly and do it.
I agree.
So on the 13th, there was quite a few changes that were more of, instead of just a word change, were more of a text change. If you want to approve the September 27th, those two meetings, the maker and the seconder of the motion could agree to amend their motion just to approve the September 27th.
So should we just make a motion to table the first ones?
Well, they weren't going to be approved, so
Okay.
at this point, there's a motion and a second on the floor. If those who made that would agree to amend the motion to delete the September 13th minutes, then we just go ahead and vote. I forgot who made this motion and second.
Made the motion.
Spears and Hauser.
Agreed to amend the motion then to remove the 13th minutes. Okay, so now you're just voting on the September 27th minutes of the regular and special meeting,
As amended.
as amended.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, so we will see them September 13th minutes next meeting. Okay, moving on to mayor's report. We'll do CONCOM after executive session. We have no Public Works Committee report, no Economic Development Committee report, Public Safety Committee report.
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance prohibiting the sale, possession, and use of synthetic cannabis and other synthetic alternative drugs, and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
So moved.
Well, if I can have, oh, I'm sorry, nobody seconded it.
Second. Did you so moved?
I didn't.
You can have it.
I didn't hear it, sorry. Well, actually, if I could just pass the baton to Chief, if you don't mind, give us a little bit of a background. He did up most of the legwork on this, and I have to say did an excellent job with his deputies and the rest of the department putting this together. So if you can just give a brief background on this, Chief.
No problem, thank you. The ordinance is attached to the packet. This is an ordinance that we've been working on for quite a while with several other jurisdictions. Warren's passing one similar, and they've already passed it. Sure Grove's recently passed one, and Oswego also as well. And we've also shared this ordinance with our drug task forces in the area who are sending around the state, as well as us through our contacts as well too. Synthetic cannabis and synthetic alternative drugs is becoming a big problem. The main problem with synthetic drugs is they're not marketed for human consumption. It says right on the package, not fit for human consumption. They're completely unregulated. Most of these chemicals that are used in these drugs are coming from countries such as China, which has very little regulation on as well. I read an article that said that the production of these drugs a lot of times occurs in garages. And they'll take an inert matter such as even grass clippings or leaves, shred them up, and they'll spray these chemicals on these grass clippings or leaves, and then they package them in packages to sell it as incense or something like that. And they also create crystal bath salts. And there's like alternative cocaines out there that are synthetic. And one of the big issues is kids are overdosing on it, and they're dying from it around the country. We've had local tragedies, and some of the other research that we did indicated that ERs, they don't know how to treat the kids for when they come in overdosing and stuff because they don't know what it is. And as quick as these chemicals can be made illegal, they'll come up with another alternative. We're hoping that this ordinance is going to address most of those. As you see, there's a long list of chemicals in there. So by doing this, we're joining several other communities. Our guess is that the state will probably do the same thing as well, too. And as you see in there, the fine is through our adjudication system. It is a pretty serious fine, but we believe this is a serious offense. Recently, we've had several high school students that have smoked this before they started school and ended up in the front office with some bad side effects. And it just kind of drove everything home to me, that we need to ban this stuff in our town, we need to ban it statewide.
As I mentioned at the public safety meeting, I think it's extremely important that, number one, that we pass this, and number two, that every other town and the county pass this as well, because if you have it where it's sporadic, you're going to find that these shops are going to pop up where they can sell them, and the kids are just going to migrate there. So it's very important that we do that. And we talked about this at the meeting, I think it's extremely important that the schools recognize this issue, and I would hope that possibly come up with some type of education program for not only the students but the parents, because it's too late when a tragedy hits. And this, believe me, I've seen this stuff out there, and it's a problem. And I appreciate the work the chief's done in getting the word out on this and passing it around.
One of the things that scared me the most about this was that I talked with our director of our local drug task force, and he said that he had had several juveniles and several informants that had worked for him, said that they would much rather seek out some of the more natural illegal drugs, such as cannabis itself, that those drugs are actually safer than the ones that these kids are buying. If that tells you something, that sometimes the side effects can be very severe, and you know that a lot of those types of users, that are admitted users, only search for this stuff when they can't find the illegal stuff. It's just very important.
Another thing I'd like to point out that we briefly discussed at the meeting is that as a municipality, we have the ability to stay ahead of the curve better than the state does. Like Chief said, the way these guys work is they come up with a chemical combination that produces some sort of high. As soon as you make that illegal, they change the chemical compounds to change the chemical components, and now it's no longer illegal again, and it's basically a game of catch-up at this point. By regulating it through the city, if we find out there is a new chemical, a new component out there, we could easily amend our ordinance and add that new chemical with a 2-week turnaround time. While if there's a state law that bans the chemical, you know darn well it's going to take them 6 months to a year down there to pass a law and get it on the books and get the governor to sign it. So I'm not one for government intruding in people's private lives, but when it's having the effects that it has, and I obviously did research on this, I really firmly believe we should pass this and get that stuff out of Yorkville and send that on down the road.
Anyone else? All right, roll call, please.
Todd?
Aye.
Munns? Spears?
Aye.
Colosimo?
Aye.
Funkhauser?
Aye.
Milszewski?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Gilson?
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, next is Administration Committee report. And we have a very long motion here for you to read.
We what?
We have a long motion here for you to read.
Of course, and then you'll ask me to repeat it, right? I'd like to make a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing and providing for the issue of $11,140,000 general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2011, of the United City of Yorkville, Kendall County, Illinois, for the purpose of refunding the city's general obligation bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2005D, and general obligation refunding bonds, alternate revenue source, Series 2008, prescribing all the details of said bonds and providing for the collection and segregation of revenues sufficient to pay such bonds and authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute.
second?
Second.
I know, Bart will explain why we're going to table this tonight.
We got an email today from our financial advisor, bond counsel, and the bond buyer itself, which is a bit of a new wrinkle since the last time we've talked. We do have one specific buyer, obviously through a negotiated sale, which I can explain more next week if anybody's interested. They came to us and said, hey, what if the city has underestimated the amount of sales tax revenue that you're getting? There's basically no or a very limited prepayment clause in the existing bond. So they said, do you want some language in there? We said, well, we think so. What's it going to cost us? And they said nothing. Basically, they drafted language that said within, I believe, $500,000 or $2 million per year, we do have the ability to prepay it each year for the first few years if we have extra money. And so we thought that was a good enough reason to change the ordinance, postpone it for a couple weeks, and then in the conversation related to that, we actually had found out that the bond buyer still had some minor changes to the agreement. So rather than get it approved tonight, we said we'll bring it back to you again in 2 weeks clean. It's not going to affect the cost. It's not going to affect the interest rate, postponing it for 2 weeks. And it shouldn't impact the budget at all as far as debt service schedules. So that's why we're asking for a delay.
Any comments or questions on that? So if somebody wants to make a motion.
I'll move to table it to the October
25th
City Council meeting.
Second. Roll call, please.
Huns. Spears.
Aye.
Colosimo.
Aye.
Funkhauser.
Aye.
Milczewski.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Gelson.
Aye.
Pratt.
Aye.
Okay, do we have any park board report? Plan commission? ZBA? No city council report, city clerk report, city treasurer report. Community and liaison reports. Yes, sir.
Yesterday we had our library board meeting. As you would recall, 2 weeks ago we passed our ordinance to transfer the funds with the library board contingent on them passing a resolution doing the same. Last night they approved their resolution by, I believe, a 5-2 vote. So I believe it's in the works already to transfer those funds and get them some unrestricted funds to the library. So that was done last night. And the library board is very appreciative of the efforts of everybody on the city council and Bart putting that together and getting it done for them. So I appreciate it. Thank you.
Anyone else? Do we have any staff reports?
No report.
Any additional business? Okay, right here, Gary. Go ahead, Shane.
I was just going to give an update because I promised a resident I'd voice a complaint, and I think it's probably best that I do it under additional business. I spoke to a resident, and they complained about an ordinance violation notice given to the city for a violation of our weed ordinance on the commercial property in Brum that is directly in front of and backed up to 5 houses in Briarwood. The resident notified the city of the violation on September 6th, and a ticket was not issued until 10/7. The property owner feels, and I'm reporting exactly as he wanted me to report it, the property owner feels that by having this department headed up by someone who is also connected to economic development is a conflict of interest, and wonders why he had to call several times and finally get an alderman involved in order for the city to do their job and issue a ticket in a timely manner. And I wanted to report that because I promised him I would. Thank you.
May I respond, being the
Absolutely.
department head? First, there is no connection in regards to my position in economic development. I did speak with the gentleman on several occasions. This next day after the complaint was issued, We did go out to the site. We did post the site. We had trouble contacting the individual who was the owner to get him to come, to get any conversation with him. We thought we would try to work with him first to see what his response was. The area in question is a berm that has very overgrown, not even just weeds now, it's almost like trees on this property. And me being here a year and a half, I haven't heard of any complaints prior to this gentleman calling. We are not capable with our equipment to go in there and mow it, because usually that's what would happen. We go in there and mow it, send them a lien, and respond to it that way. The transition of the new building code official, who is now officially handling that, is not my everyday responsibility. There may have been some lag, and I will admit that, but after it was brought to my attention that there was no ticket issued, it was posted, no ticket issue, I went out immediately and posted it.
Yeah, there is no reporting. It was one, and I said economic development, I meant community development. They felt that because there's community development works with developers, that there'd be a conflict of interest, and that's just an opinion of the resident. But, you know, I couldn't answer him why it took so long to issue the ticket and why it would never have been issued unless he called me and I called the city, because Bart had no idea that the ticket wasn't issued, and it was issued the day that I called the city wanting a response on it. So
right, I issued it in response. I had no idea that the ticket wasn't issued. I know it was posted. It was it was in your admin weekly that it was posted with pictures, and the idea is for it to either be brought into compliance within 5 days or issued a ticket. Again, we have a new intern working as well as a new building code official, so please forgive any lag. It hasn't happened before, but this is just one of those incidences where it was not.
And I think you're doing a great job, Christy. The only question I do have, and maybe it's best we discuss it now, is what is our standard of procedure when it comes to ticketing? Because do we, with some developers, decide we want to call and work with them before we ticket, and others we ticket right away? Or what is our general standard procedure when there's a clear violation, there's a clear notice posted, and I was pretty sure our ordinances were clear as to a ticket should be issued immediately and either sent via mail or sent or you know, given to the property. I'm sure his name's right on the sign out there, so I'm sure we have an address for the developer.
The simple issue is that this fell through the cracks. You know, and I thank the alderman for forwarding, obviously, the complaint to us, and we worked to rectify it. You know, the response would have been the same if they would have called us again, brought it to my attention, brought it to Christie's attention, too. So you can encourage them, you know, just to keep following up with us, too, and then if there's a lack of follow-up, to do that. As far as enforcement procedures, I'm happy to discuss that in depth. It's probably best served at the committee level, you know, in concept and basic and brief. You know, we always write the ticket if they don't post, or if we post and they don't mow. With some developers, if we have their phone number and we have time to do it, we will actually also call them and say, would you please mow your property before the end of the 7 days? And a lot of times that has a high success rate. So.
I just want to add that all the complaints that I have submitted to Christy and you might tell your resident, because our residents are very, very pleased with the action she was taking on and how she was handling all the complaints and they were issuing. So, and I got a lot of thank yous from our residents that I forwarded to her and thanked her. And I think she's doing a great job, and it's unfortunate that this one possibly fell through the cracks, but... And
I do too. I actually told the resident that I think you're doing a great job and that it was probably an oversight. I did express that, but the reason I expressed it out here is because I promised him I would, and because he felt a certain way, and he felt it was best to get it out in the open so that this doesn't continue to happen, because he thought that to have to call and then actually call an alderman, he thought shouldn't be happening. And I think we've talked about this at council previous and many times before, is it's very hard when we've got residents calling the alderman, calling their elected officials, and we have to get the elected officials to hound our staff to try to find a way to go out and enforce these weed ordinances, which there's a lot to to enforce right now. So it was something I promised the resident I would do, and hence I did it.
Anyone else? You may have seen an email from Bonnie. I walked past our display case today and looked at it, actually, in depth, and there's some old pictures in there. So I was wondering if you guys wanted to take a new city council picture to put in the display case. I think it's something that should be done every 2 years with new councils that come in. So she said next meeting, the 25th, but I asked Jesse if he would be our cameraman. He won't be here in 2 weeks, so the first meeting in November, everyone wear their Sunday best and do a picture. Did I get here 10 minutes early or something?
I'll have my deputy chief sports cop take a picture. He's very good at it.
Is he good at it?
Do we have to face forward and then turn left?
Any other additional business? I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session for collective negotiating matters, purchase or lease of real property, and litigation.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Spears? Aye. Wilczewski?
Aye.
Colosimo?
Aye.
Pat?
Aye.
Teeling?
Aye.
Gilson?
Aye.
Funkhauser?
Aye.
Munns?
George?
I just have a quick question before we, and then a comment. The question is, have we looked and seriously looked into joining the Montgomery intergovernmental agreement with Sugar Grove and some of the other facilities before we settle?
Yeah, we've discussed it. Nothing to the point of sitting down with Montgomery Dispatch and, negotiating a deal or contemplating it. But we've done conceptual estimates as to how much it would cost to join another dispatch service, how much it would cost to form our own, et cetera.
Have we done estimates to see what the startup cost would be for actually joining the Montgomery Dispatch?
Not that one in particular, no. Yeah, please.
I did talk to Montgomery, we were $200,000 a year.
Over 200,000?
Rough estimates, and that was just based on very rough estimates.
Did that include like an entrance fee, though? I guess that was the original question.
Okay. Upgrades, because we had to change radios and radio frequencies and all kinds of issues like that. So that would not include that with the cost upon us, which would probably be another $150,000 to $200,000. I know our initial look at we started the dispatch center now is going to probably be over $2 million a year, over $1 million a year maintaining that. I say us to go Plano and us put it together. So this deal is far cheaper than the dispatch center.
So how is Montgomery affording it? I mean, how are they doing it?
They've never had, like we did where we've been part of county dispatch. They've been paying for it from the start on their own, so they have the personnel and equipment over all these years. And they've actually started leasing out to Sugar Grove, the Lansing Police Department, business dispatch room, and some of the fire protection districts in the area. And they also receive their 911 fees through the telephone bills, regards to the county.
So can we get that or no?
No, you do not get that. They're saying that even if we formed our own dispatch center, that they would answer 911 when they determined it was a Yorkville call, they would send it to us. So even if we did that, it would not be a good situation for us, because now you've got two people trying to answer 911 calls.
And if we're interested in doing that, you better give notice now, because in this ugly lopsided agreement, we have to give 4 years' notice if we want to drop out of KenCom, whereas they can kick us out with 0 notice.
Ridiculous.
Go ahead.
Right, and I just wanted to continue with that, after that question with a comment. This is a bad situation for Yorkville and its citizens, and we're put, the city here is put between a rock and a hard place. We're bent over a barrel, and I don't think we have much of a choice here to vote for this, but I can see this issue coming right back to the table, us being in the same exact position we are years down the line, where they vote to increase this cap, and we're once again fighting over the same thing, wasting taxpayers' dollars, and with, like Gary had mentioned, with this lopsided agreement, I could see us seeing this in the very near future, and seeing the same issues and fighting the same battle. And, I'm going to vote for this, but this is, the citizens of Yorkville should be outraged at this agreement.
I agree with Rose and George. I'll be voting for it. Obviously, I have many objections to the agreement, but the agreement has already been entered into years ago. There's nothing we can do about that. However, several things to consider. Like Rose said, if you're a resident of Kendall County, unincorporated, you should be very happy with this agreement because the burden will be carried by the residents of Plano, Yorkville, and Oswego for you. We're already paying the same tax you're paying, and now we're, in essence, being double taxed. There is something that can be done in the future, however, it does take time. I've always advocated that municipal and local elections are very important. Some of the lowest voter turnouts happen during those elections, and it really is a shame because then we're in these types of situations. I'd like to remind all the residents that the entire county board is up for re-election, and it's very clear who supported the residents of our municipalities and who supported double taxing the residents of our municipalities. So I would encourage everybody to do their due diligence, pay attention to who they're actually voting for, and in the future, if we want a better agreement, that can be done if we have better people on the other side to work with. So I would encourage the residents that that's really the only way we're going to be able to fix this problem. If we stick with the status quo, we're going to have the status quo as the agreement. So I have to vote for it because I can't, especially as chairman of public safety, I can't have 911 disconnected for our residents. We need that vital service. But this is something that we have to look in long-term planning as to how we're going to change the process because the process is broken and it's very much towards the residents of the municipality's disadvantage. So please do your due diligence and vote accordingly. Thank you.
Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Gilson,
Aye.
Cott,
Aye.
Munns, Spears,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Milszewski. Aye. Teeling.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is it aye?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Roll call.
Spears,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Funkhauser,
Aye.
Milszewski. Aye. Teeling,
Aye.
Gilson,
Aye.
Cott,
Aye.
Munns.
All right, we do have a, when we adjourn. We have the park board meeting, you want to jump right into it, or take a 2-minute break, or jump right into it?
Jump into it.
Okay, we will call,
It's really cold. It's really cold.
okay, we will call a special meeting with park board to order. Roll call, please.
Gilson,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Present.
Milszewski. Here. Cott,
Here.
Munns, Funkhauser,
Here.
Spears,
Here.
Teeling,
Here.
Coe,
Here.
Torres, Sedgwick, Covenant, Tarulas, Seshik, Dilday.
Okay, we have a quorum. Do we have any citizen comments? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session for the purchase or lease of real property for use of the public body.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Gilson,
Aye.
Colosimo,
Aye.
Cott,
Aye.
Milszewski. Aye. Munns. Funkhauser.
Aye.
Spears.
Aye.
Teeling.
Aye.
Coe.
Just say park board, they can all answer.
Park board. Aye.